Now, back to cap friendly. Let's go with our next team. That's what's the opposite of great? Terrible. Let's go to the Philadelphia Flyers. We have it's a very sad team these days. The Philly Flyers. They zero cap space. They're actually 2.3 mil, almost 2.4 mil over the cap. And you have your most expensive player, Kevin Hayes, at 7 mil. That's kind of rich. Van Riemsdyk at 7 mil. Defensively, you have Pororoff at 6.7. And then Carter Hart just making a little bit under 4 mil. Let's get into the depth chart. And the most important acquisition they made this year is John Tortorella. So there is going to be some exciting sound bites for sure. Let's get into it. Kevin Hayes had an okay season last season. Like, there's a lot going on, and a lot of obviously his brother passing and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm hoping Kevin Hayes can kind of find his game and get back to a really good level. But you have Kevin Hayes, Scott Langton, and then Cam Atkinson. Then on the second line, you have Ramdeen's Morgan Frost, Cognac, and then you have Cognac, and then you have the third line. You have Joel Farabee, Max Willman, Owen Tippett, and the third line, the Lauriers, Brooks, and McEwen.
Let's just start off with the first line. Let's just break this down properly here, right? Your first line is all the teams that made the playoffs. Third line at best. Right? It's unfortunate to say it that way, but look at the numbers. All their numbers, that's what you're hoping to get from your third line, not your first line. That's embarrassing. Yeah. It's unfortunate, and it's very embarrassing to an NHL franchise to have this type of production from your top line. That's just extremely embarrassing. And for them to not have corrected that to this point, that's even more embarrassing on the franchise.
I don't think they can, though. The one guy that I could say would be a first line on some teams would be Cam Atkinson, because I think put in the right situation, he is a first line talent. On a middle team, on a really good team, he's probably a second line winger. But Hayes,
third line.
Hayes is a second or third liner at best. Langton, 30 point. There's just not much offensive production here. The one bright spot here is Travis Cognac. Is that how you say it? I don't know necessarily how to say that, but
Konecny. Yeah.
Konecny. Yeah. 52 games, 52 points in 79 games played, only 25. I mean, he's making 5.5. Maybe a little rich, but solid, productive player. There's no one, unless Owen Tippett takes a step in the right direction, keeps developing. He's only 23. But the surprising part about this, right? You have Morgan Frost, who's also 23, is a lot of these guys on this roster are already kind of at their prime. You know what I mean? Especially their top, a lot of their top six is already at that point where that's pretty much what they're going to be. And it's just a lot of overpay. And the problem is why they can't rebuild. Look, you have 7 mil in Kevin Hayes. You have 7 mil in Ramdeen's. And then it's where you have 5.5 mil in Cognac. You have 5 in Farabee. Farabee's young. Maybe he can keep developing, but is he worth a $5 million? No, I think you could have got him for cheaper.
Look. First of all, let's go back to the first line here, right? Kevin Hayes, he at his prime, when he was his prime, he hit that early. He hit it around 25, right? And at his prime, he was still on the third line. I am just saying, not only with the Rangers, but when he was in Columbus, he wasn't part of the first line. Dubinsky was a part of the first line. Hayes was part of the third line.
No, he was with the Jets there for a spill. Yeah. That's what you're thinking, because he went to the Rangers, Jets. Boston College legend, shout out. Watched him live. He was a really good player. he's a third liner, but paying a third liner that much money is foolishness because he's never had a season. He's never had a season above 49 points. That's terrible cap management. And let's get I'll just round it out like this. This is a terrible forward group.
And they're over the budget by $2 million. Like, how are you over the budget and still have a horrible team? Like,
I don't know. I have no idea. So, below average for me to terrible. Let's get to defense. Ivan Provorov, Tony DeAngelo, Travis Samheim, Ramis Ristolainen, Cam York, and Justin Braun. I mean, Tony DeAngelo showed out last year, 51 points in 64 games played. DeAngelo, take all the drama, take all your political views. He's a good defenseman. He's a good power play defenseman, a good point producer. He can play average defense, but he excels in the offensive side of the zone.
Oh, you're really excited about Tony DeAngelo.
Dude, listen. Personally, when he was going through that shit, I was like, the Bruins should just pick him up because he's a cheap option. You could get him for nothing. It's like he's a good player. It's like does he say probably some wild shit? Yeah, who really gives a shit? But anyways, it's a whole different conversation. Yeah. Provorov, I mean, he's a good defenseman. I just think he's on an awful team. And then you got Travis Sanheim. I mean, 31 points last season, 80 games played. He's not a bad defenseman at all. Ristolainen from Buffalo, like when they made that deal and got Risto, I didn't really see it. I didn't see the idea. Like, why pay him 5 point? Like, what? Like he's not that guy. Like, Ristolainen in Buffalo had so much hope, and like people were really looking for him to develop to be that franchise guy. He's 27. He is what he is. You know what I mean? At some point, a player is going to either develop or not develop, right? And I mean, Ristolainen is who he is last season. You know, I don't understand why they paid him. Like, why is his contract that? 5.1 for another, how many years is that? 5? That's ridiculous. Yep. You have Cam York and Justin Braun. You know, look like, you know, Braun, older guy, experienced, decent bottom pairing guy. Cam York, younger guy. You know, looked decent at times. I think he's young. He's going to have to develop. But, I mean, I think the decor is like,
it's actually not bad.
No, it's like an average decor because I think there's ups and downs here, right? DeAngelo, Provorov, I actually like. Sanheim, I like. I do not like Ristolainen. I've watched him play quite a bit. I think he's awful. Personal opinion. I don't think he's good. I think there was way too much hype behind him. And then your bottom pair, like Justin Braun, does he wow you? No. But he's a solid bottom pairing guy. And then you got Cam York, who's young, who's gonna have growing pains as well. So, I think like an average decor to me. I think it's kind of like the top end is really good, but then the bottom end is eh.
Yeah, so the way I look at it, right, is like it doesn't matter what decor you have. If you have no offense, the decor is going to be abused, right? Because if you put this with, let's say, Pittsburgh's forwards, this would be a good decor. If you put this decor with any team that has a good set of forwards, they'd be okay. They'd at least be competitive. But with the product that you're putting out as the Flyers, when it comes to your forwards, your D-men, all they're there is to cushion the beating that the goalie's going to take every night.
Yeah.
It really is unfortunate. I mean, and I've said this plenty of times, I hope that all these teams find their way to be the best that they can be, because I don't want anybody getting away with freebies, free nights, or anything like that. I want them to be competitive and make it hard on every team. Whether it be the Rangers, whether it be the Islanders, it doesn't matter who it is. They just got to be competitive. And this team, statistically, and all of last year, were not even close to competitive. With the few additions they added on the defense, I mean, you hope that it helps, but you're trying to add offense to your defense when you should be adding offense to your offense.
I mean, but the problem is, I think I mean,
guys are tradable. Some of those guys are tradable.
I mean, I hope so. They're gonna have to make some moves here to make something happen, or waive a guy that will be put on waivers. You know what I mean? And some might claim. I mean, like for example, is anyone picking up Van Riemsdyk at $7 million? No. So let's get to the goalie situation. You have Carter Hart, the phenom. He was elite when he played in juniors. 45 games played last season, 3.16 goals against, and 905 save percentage, 13 wins, 24 losses. Felix Sandstrom, 5 games played, 3.23 goals against, and 910 save percentage, 0 wins and 4 losses. I mean, that team was terrible, so nothing absolutely out of this world. I mean, this is to me at this point with Carter Hart, it's like, are you going to have a year? Are you going to finally get back to that form you kind of flashed in your rookie year? Or are you going to keep on a downward trend? Now, to be fair to him, last year was an improvement over the year before. We had an .877 save percentage. But Carter Hart's supposed to be your franchise goaltender. Supposed to be that guy. I mean, everyone references when he was with the Everett Silvertips that .947 save percentage with a 1.60 goals against. Guy's elite. I get that. Elite prospect. I think it's still in him. This is going to be his 5th year in the league, though. I need to see it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Listen. Before we bash Mr. Hart here, right? Let's be real. Philly has not been good over many years, period. He's carried them to some wins, which is what you want from your goaltenders, to be able to do that or have the capability of doing it. He has done it. It's just, again, the product in front of him, the defenseman and everything. Now, I'm not saying that they've turned a corner. I'm saying that defensively, I think they've improved. They added some offensive potential to their defense, and hopefully that'll make it a little bit better for them. I'm not saying they're gonna win and kill it or anything like that. I'm just saying they've started from the back end. Defensively, they've made some changes. The next step they need to make is on their forward side, because these forwards, they just can't produce. So they need to figure that side out.
I mean, I listen. Looking at this team, I do think Carter Hart still has loads of potential, but he needs to be more consistent this year. To be fair, though, it's hard. To be fair to him, the team that is put in front of him by the front office is dog shit. So maybe I'm being too harsh, but I think the franchise goaltender is still there. That potential's there. The best acquisition they made this offseason was John Tortorella, because John Tortorella brings these type of squads and actually makes them competitive.
Yep.
Does he make them a world beater? No.
Well, he can get them close.
No, but like they'll play their hearts off. Like in Columbus, when he was dealt with not much, he made them a very competitive team. Brought teams to the brink, right? When he was with the Rangers, brought them to a quite high level for a team that, in my opinion, at time on paper weren't the most talented. So, I think he'll get the best out of his players. Yeah, there's some antics. Yeah, Tortorella has a small, shelf life, a short shelf life, I should say. But I think for the situation they're in now, the cap hell they're in right now, he will get the most out of these players, and that's all they need. They really need to be more competitive. So let's get into the standings. So, I mean, listen, the Flyers were like the worst team in the Metro last season. They finished with 25 wins, 46 losses, 11 overtime losses for 61 points. Where do you find them finishing this season, Fajardo?
I say they are going to probably stay in 7th or 8th. I think that they can turn those 11 overtime losses to wins and probably get, to that 7th spot.
This is going to be Philly this season, is what you're saying. Just a bunch of booing, bunch of anger.
Yeah. It's going to be... Unfortunately, it's going to be rough. It's gonna be rough to be a Flyers fan, you know. And again, I don't wish the worst on any team. I don't care. Yeah, I'm a Rangers fan, 100%. I don't have it in me to wish anybody that negativity. How you call it? I hope that they do find their way. They do become more competitive. Maybe they make some moves to improve the team. But you know, at the same token, being realistic with the whole scenario, the most they can look to do is come in sixth, and that you're like pushing at that point. But that's it. Yeah, like that's like a dream position for them. But I think 7th or 8th is where they're gonna end.
Yeah, I just see on paper. I mean, I think Tortorella is going to get them. I think they'll probably finish 7th, but I could see him falling back to 8th as well. 7th or 8th. I'm right there with you. There's just not much there on paper. Not enough offense. Defensively, not terrible, but offense, it's like, where's it coming from? Unless you have some veteran guys have a complete turnaround, I think they're going to struggle to score goals. I mean, last season they were the worst in the division scoring goals. They had 211. That was the worst in the division. So, I mean, second place was 231, and that was the Islanders. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like I don't see much there offensively. They're going to struggle, and I could easily see them finishing 8th again. So, I mean, yeah. So sorry, Philly fans. But it's not looking very good.